So this right here is my benchdogs.co.uk quad hinge top plate, and it goes to the hinge system that I purchased. Along here you have a series of holes, and in these holes you can attach a Mafel track saw, others, whatever that may be, Festool, Makita, Triton, and I can't remember the E name, DeWalt. And then you also have the same markings on the opposite side, so you could actually put the rail hinge on the left or the right side. You have these two T-nuts here with a thumb screw on the bottom that you use to tighten down the rail. It's a nice weighty little bracket here, and you've got a thumb screw here to lift the actual hinge on the back side. So let's go ahead and install the rail. So what I'm going to use is my 1900 rail. This is the newer model that has the actual holes in it. And the way I'm going to install it, I'm going to actually have the cut edge facing back towards behind me. So I'm going to turn the rail around like this, which puts my cut line on this side of the actual table. So I'm going to lower my bracket and push these screws out here, and it's just going to slide into the T-track. Once you get it to line up, you just slide it down. Now, since my track is so long, I try to gauge it and I slide it back. As you can see, I have quite a bit of overhang on the back here, but it still sticks out plenty on the front. So from here, I'm going to tighten down the rail, and now I can put the rail up and out of the way. I'm ready to cut. Okay, so let's take a look at the front part of the rail. You have a similar design. You've got a little pin here that can be moved in any one of these holes to line up or coincide with the opposite side. You also have a big thumb screw here to be able to raise and lower to adjust to your workpiece. The actual hinge itself is fixed in with 20mm dogs that tighten up from the top. They're kind of like those compression dogs, and that's how it actually fits into place on both the back and the front. And so standing at the far end of my table, my cut line is right here. Now, the one thing that I ended up learning after making this MFT, if you see, this is where my actual cut is going to be. And that makes it to where I have pretty much no outfeed for this. So on this particular table, I do have a cut station in the middle of the table. However, my table saw table, my MFT table are both the same height as this particular workbench. So I usually roll those over onto this side if I need to have more of an outfeed for the particular table, or if I'm doing longer cross cuts, I won't use the actual guide rail hinge. I'll just use the dogs right there in the center of the table. Now, the reason why I don't just move the rail hinge to the middle of the table is because when I use my long benchdogs.co.uk fence, so as you can see here, I have my benchdogs.co.uk long fence installed, and it does not interfere at all with my guide rail system. It goes down like this. So that gives me the ability to have this reference for my actual cuts on the guide rail. This particular fence has two stops on it that I can slide up and down the rail to get cuts of different lengths. When I'm actually doing a job that requires multiple different types of cuts, I will pull out my second Benchdogs fence and I'll install it accordingly in this area here, and this coincides with this cut line right here. So when I use this particular setup, and I think I move it down a little bit more this way. Simply because with this I can actually use rail dogs, which I have here. And I can install those rail dogs on a different fence. Or a different rail, sorry. I can install the rail dogs on a different rail. Like this. And then actually I have it in the wrong one. I just gotta move it one more over, which is here. There it is. All right, so this one is not lining up simply because this is a brand new rail that has not been cut yet. So, but my cut line is right here. So the only challenge I have to using this particular setup is the fact that if I want this cut to have no play, I actually have to tighten the dog from this end and then come back around on the back over here and tighten it down, and then I don't have any play left or right. However, when you do tighten down the dogs like this, it makes it a little bit difficult to raise it up out of the table, but when you do have to move it, you have to loosen it again. On both sides to remove it. Now, of course, there is the other option that I have here, which is to use the rail dog clips. Here I we use these tall dogs here. And let me see if I can find the clips. This right here is the whole jig that I purchased to actually be able to install my rail hinge. You don't need this, but you can get it, and it also offers a 32 millimeter, 48 millimeter, and 64 millimeter settings. And it actually has these compression dogs on the back of the device, which operates similar to this kind of dog here, where when you turn the top, it actually compresses these bands inside of here, which gives you the ability to actually secure the dog from the top of the table. So if I put this in here like this and turn it, it's nice and secure from this position. And then I just unscrew it to pull it out. These are benchdogs.co.uk dogs here. And I can use those with the rail clips. These are a UJK version of the same type of dog. I think one company calls them super dogs, another one calls them, I don't know, I call them kind of like compression dogs. All right, here I have the UGK clips, and basically we'll put these in a rail. We'll just use the short rail for now. And let's see, based upon here, let's pull this back. Put this here. And then we'll just put the clips over the rail, and there you go. So obviously I can make a cut with this, but because of the way that I designed my MFT, where I put my cut lines, this is actually going to cut through a row of dog holes. So that's the reason why I don't use these clips. I think if I make another bench or something in the future, I'm going to skip a row of holes so that I could utilize these these clips without actually cutting through my hole. So having a 4 foot by 8 foot MFT has its benefits. It gives you the ability to cut down full size 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of material, and it also gives you a nice assembly table. But it also has its disadvantages. Now the downfall is, especially with my height and my reach, I'm unable to cut all the way across the table. So that can pose a problem. So if I had a piece of work that was all the way back to the back here, and I'm trying to cut, I'm not going to be able to make that reach. Now, because I have such a short edge, I can walk along the side with the saw, but usually if I'm going to use the rail and I have something, a longer work piece, the benefit to using this benchdogs.co.uk fence system is the fact that I can just go ahead and move this fence up wherever I want it to be. Okay, so with everything in position, I got this piece of junk melamine here that I'm going to cut, and let's cut off the bad portion, or the wasted portion first, just to give you an idea of how I'm able to use the quad hinge system. So in conjunction with the actual fence. So I lock it in here. This will be my length from the cut line all the way up to the stop. Obviously I can set multiple stops, or I can purchase more stops to have even more stops than this. Now, drawback, as you can see here, I'm having to walk around to reach my rail to bring it down here like this. So I was able to find my Festool KEB vacuum hose adapter, so we can use that. Let's go ahead and set my depth on the saw. This is 3/4. Need to go a little bit deeper. And one of the ways I actually kind of, well, I guess what I can do is stick my saw up here to prop that up. And then, looks like it didn't cut all the way through. Let's try that again. Yeah, that's right. There we go. So that's be using my Festool quad hinge system. It works pretty well. I like the fact that I can remove it and put it on a different MFT easily, or I could actually move the hinge system from this location to anywhere along the table if I wanted to. Now, I would not move it to the middle. Well, I could move it to the middle. However, the issue with moving it to the middle is if I have my long rail on, it doesn't really work out as well. So far, I've enjoyed the use of my benchdogs.co.uk quad hinge system. It's pretty versatile, being that it can actually accommodate different brands of rails, and it seems to be pretty rugged, and it's held up well over the short time that I've owned it. I don't regret the purchase, and I've also considered possibly getting a second one for another MFT build that I'm considering, a smaller version, something that's not quite so wide across, maybe more of a portable station. I probably went a little bit overboard by using such a wide table. It does make cross-cutting not as comfortable because of the reach factor, and then even the fact of, like, as you see, I have the rail propped up here with the saw. That kind of causes a degree of cumberness. Anyways guys, thanks for taking time to watch the video, and I'll see you in my next one.